Hi there, Trapper Jack here, and a quick disclaimer on this week's episode and the subject matter. This has to do with a woman, a former prostitute, who has gone through a huge transformation and is now an evangelist for Jesus Christ. It is a miraculous transformation. That said, the subject matter is the subject matter. Nothing explicit. That said, the subject matter is discussed. So if there's someone around that shouldn't be, you want to come back to this later, that'd be a good idea, okay? But just wanted to give you a heads up on the subject matter. So with that said, this is episode 88 of Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God.
I have no shame of who I used to be because that person died a long time ago. And if you can judge a dead person, who are you? Like, I'm a whole new creation.
This is Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God, those moments when heaven and earth collide. And we see God, we see His hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention, inviting us into a closer relationship. Here we share stories of encounter with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome. I got to tell you, seemed really odd to me. Here we have a week in which we have 3 feast days for Mary. 3 this week. You have the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, Mary's Immaculate Conception, conceived without sin. You have a new one added this year, Our Lady of Laredo. This has to do with her home, the home where that Immaculate Conception probably took place, and where the Annunciation took place, where the angel came to Mary when she was, 13, 14 years old. And you have Our Lady of Guadalupe. This one, to me, is just incredible. The science within that image now that they've discovered, and let alone the 9 million it converted back in 1531 near Mexico City. By the way, I've got the latest science and all the documentation about these events, especially at Guadalupe and this house of Loreto. Just go to this episode 88 at touchedbyheaven.net. They're amazing stories. You'll want to read that. But here's all this Mary, this purity, this virginity. And I get this really strong nudge to couple that with a woman who sold her body for money to go along in this episode, really? But then Jesus in the Bible, always so merciful with all sinners, certainly women with a history. Now go and sin no more. And Mary, what would she say today? Certainly she was born with an advantage, with all the extra graces, all those extra graces, so that it would be fitting that she could be the mother of Jesus Christ, the mother of God. Extra graces. Whereas we have a woman in this episode that came into this world with very little love, a lot of abuse. There's no God, there's no church. There was just basically her being kicked out there onto the street to sell her body. And yet there's this amazing touched by heaven moment in which her 5-year-old daughter says something that begins a series of events that now this woman is an evangelist for Jesus Christ. Now that's a story.
Hello?
There we are.
I was at Long John Silver's.
Highly nutritional.
It's so gross, really, but I just got off work because I had to do a catering. I'm the catering coordinator.
I like that. It's gross, but hey, that's my food.
You know, all Black people love fish, so it is.
Oh yeah, it goes without saying. What? That's funny. Well, how you doing?
So my whole life has been kind of difficult, but the Lord changed all of that about 5 years ago.
Her name is Shanika.
So, yeah.
Okay, where do you want to start?
I don't care. Where do you want me to start? Because I can start at birth. I remember the womb. So
I remember. So didn't it need light? It needed light or something. It's so dark.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And all these things just in my way when I'm trying to kick around and all this water. But I'm a professional swimmer now, so I'm thankful for the womb.
Oh, that's good. You had some practice.
Yeah.
Well, let's go a little beyond the womb here. So if you want to start with kind of your faith upbringing, where you were and how you went down a path that didn't serve you all that well.
So I've never dealt with churches or anything like that. I never really heard about God or anything like that. But so I was a foster kid my whole life. So from 14 to 17, I went to a residential facility, which was called Missouri Girls Town. But I actually had met my real family, and they just began to use me until my money ran dry. And there was this girl that was connected with my family that was a prostitute. And she was just showing me the ropes on how to be a prostitute and stuff like that. So I just started selling myself. I never even thought to just go get a job. I just thought easy money. And like, I've always had this insecurity in me. And I thought that my body was just meant to be used and abused because like growing up, you know, I was raped and all these things that happened to me. I just felt like my body could be used in a good way and I could get paid for it. So
there was no real conscience to this, was there? It was just,
no.
This is the way it is.
Yeah, it was. At that time, it was so natural. That's the only thing that I knew would be a connection with anybody.
If I may ask, is there something in that they want me and therefore something is being fed? Something's being fed inside you.
Yeah, that I never had anybody that cared enough to look at me. I never had anybody to like be a father figure or anything like that, but just to have that authority and stuff like that. Like I never had that. So when I was with these men and they would, you know, do whatever they wanted with me, there was a connection. There was somebody loving me, even if it was just having somebody just love me for those few seconds meant everything. And it became more than just a job. It was a connection. Like it was somebody holding me and needing me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, even if it's just for a moment. Yeah.
Even if it's just for a moment. Yeah. Looking at life now and like knowing the Lord and stuff like that, like it shouldn't have been like that because my body now, I value it. I love it. Like I love my body and all that stuff. Like prostituting myself, it took so much of my self-esteem, which I realize now in life. Because I knew back then I wasn't pretty, I wasn't beautiful, I wasn't all of these things. And, you know, like even like when I married my husband and stuff like that, it took over a year for me to finally understand what it was like for both of us to come together as one, because I was so used to just satisfying the other person that I never found that within myself. And like I've been married 2.5 years, but it took a whole year for me to actually understand my body and actually be able to connect with somebody else and not just on that level, if that makes any sense.
This must have been something, this is a process for your husband too, obviously too.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I know like just now it's different because like I'm learning, my body's learning, I'm feeling, I'm understanding, and I'm happy, like, you know.
How did when he met you, I imagine early on, he found out what you had been doing.
Yeah, so my husband has been through a lot of things in his life as well.
Shanika's husband also comes from a background of abuse and drug addiction.
His mother put him out at the age of 8 years old. He was beat by his mother's boyfriend. So even all that stuff, that's what connected us the most, is because we had both been through the same experiences and stuff like that. And it's like he didn't need to understand it because he didn't need to like accept it because he understood it.
You both have been through a war and then some.
Yeah, but we would not be where we are today. We would not be like on fire for God and changing our lives and letting people know that we serve a God that is with us no matter what, like footprints through the sand. That's exactly what it is. Because no matter what we do or don't see, there's always going to be a print.
You're familiar with that famous picture of two sets of footprints walking along in the sand, and then it's just one set of footprints? Jesus, why did you leave me? And Jesus responding, no, that's when I was carrying you.
Because he's there. He's carrying us through every battle. Like my husband and I should have both been dead a long time ago, but by the situations that we put ourselves in. But yeah, here we are, loud and proud, you know?
There was one particular day when her customer was especially abusive and she snapped. She just went reeling.
Like something inside of me bust. Like you have a bag inside of you. And I felt like everything that had ever happened to me, whether it was my boyfriend beating me or prostitution or all this stuff, just somebody poured water, like a jug of water in that, and it just broke. And from that day forward, I became this heavy meth addict that was still like prostituting myself. And then I found out about heroin. So I was speedballing with meth and heroin. And then I found out about crack. And I was like, I'm going to do that too, because that's going to calm me down. So during all of this, my kids, because I have 2 kids at the time, they're living with my sister and I'm not taking care of them. I'm not going over there to see them. I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is living with drug dealer after drug dealer after drug dealer. And then I ended up with a guy named Sonny. And at Sonny's house, he had 3 rooms. There was a life room, a death room, and an in-between room. It was pure freaking evil.
There was nothing but pure evil going on at Sonny's home, including most likely human trafficking. Shanika picked up a gun and held it to Sonny's head.
And he's like, oh, calm down. You're just high. I ended up leaving and I walked down to my sister's house and I just had this attack. And my daughter said, Shanika, I just want to let you know that I'm praying for you and that Jesus loves you. And I was like, who is Jesus? Like, who is that? And get out of my face. So I ended up leaving my sister's house and walking down back to Sonny's house. And I grabbed a knife and I said, it was actually like 6 knives, and I put them to my stomach. And I said, if whatever is in this house is greater than this Jesus that my daughter proclaims, kill me, because I'm tired of being your prostitute. I'm tired of the life and death of this house. I'm tired of the things that I see. I'm tired of the porn. I'm tired of you making me do all these things with these people. I'm tired. And Sonny said, I can't do it. So I fell to my knees that day and I said, all right, Jesus, if you are so real, please tell me where I need to go.
Your daughter was how old when she said, brought Jesus into the picture? How old was she?
5.
And how does she know Jesus at age 5?
So my sister had been taking care of her. And I guess my sister had been reading her like Bible stories and stuff like that and just teaching her about Jesus.
Okay. So you go over to Sonny and you say to him,
like, I'm done. Like I said, if your God or whoever is in this house is so much greater than the Jesus that my daughter proclaims, then kill me. And he couldn't do it.
How old are you now?
I am 31.
How long ago since you walked out of Sonny's house?
5, almost 6 years.
Okay.
And I stood up. And I walked to the nearest hospital. And the nearest hospital was at Boone Hospital, where I had both my kids. And they said, Shanika, we've never seen you like this, and we want to help you. So they took me by ambulance to like a mental hospital so that I could sober up and stuff like that. And then from there, they took me to Water Gardens. And at Water Gardens, which, you know, it's a homeless shelter and stuff like that. Like, they started to teach me about God and all these things. And in the process of all this, you know, the Lord told me, because I was getting to know him, that yes, you had your children, but I have parents that will love your children forever. And I ended up giving my kids up for adoption. My son's preschool teacher and her husband adopted both my children. But anyways, as I was living at Water Gardens, I was just learning more and more about God. But as I was like on fire for God and learning more about him, I decided that I wanted to go to Ozark Christian College. I wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to love those around me. And I want them to know that even in your hard times, there's a God that's going to stand up for you, and he's going to guide you, and he's going to love you. And you're not always going to be happy. You're not always going to be on track and know what's going on, because even Christians get pushed back. But our God will push us through no matter what the situation is.
Was it quick in terms of, wait a minute, this is real? Was it quick over time? Explain that you found yourself following Christ.
Within like the first 5 months of being like at the garden and stuff like that, and just attending church and doing this and just understanding more and more. So yeah, it was kind of quick. Like it was kind of quick, because I started to realize that, like I said before, I should have been dead a long time ago. Like, there's purpose for me. And the more people that came into the garden, and the more people that I could relate to and talk to and see that my gift from God is conversation, is loving people and all that, and it's always been, that's what made me push harder. And I think that's what made it so quick, because he showed me through people walking in.
And when you felt it, and you've never felt that kind of love before, had you, or that kind of caring?
Not one time have I ever.
How stunning was that? I mean, try to explain that. How stunning is it when you do not know a friendly touch, when you do not know something that isn't just give me something? How explain that feeling?
In the beginning, it was, I wanted to reject it, because this is not something that I was used to. But like, once I like accepted it and felt it, like something in me, like, because it was so cold, but something in me became so warm, and I don't know. I can't explain it. I know I went from this sad, broken girl to being this happy lover of Christ with no regrets in the world, but only moving forward. And usually it's always going backwards. There was never a step up for me. I never went forward. And that feeling of going forward is way different from going backwards.
Yeah. That's like beautiful. Wow.
You feel so accepted. It's not just fake people. It's not nobody using you. It's just pure freedom. But even like on that walk, there's still that little snake that looks for something to sneak his little ugly head in. But like now, I'm so protected. That little snake doesn't even have a chance.
Amen. Okay. Our podcast is called Touched by Heaven, and what we look for are those moments when these encounter moments. In a sense, your encounter moment was your 5-year-old daughter.
Yep.
Right? When she brought up Jesus.
Yeah.
Somehow. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, was that not the turnaround spot?
That was. It was 100% my daughter. But it was Jesus talking through her.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You're going to make me cry, so I'm trying to, like, suck it up, because, thugs don't cry, so I'm like...
Thugs don't cry. Yeah, I know, you're a tough chick. I know. You've been through, you could deck me, I have no doubt about it, but...
with Bible verses, nothing else.
Oh, okay. You have any favorites? What are your faves? What do you throw out there for Bible verses?
I don't know. It just depends on the day. Like, I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
Because each day I'm struggling with something. And I open that Bible and something pops up and I'll just write it down in my journal. But I don't, like, go back, like, every day, like, keep rereading it, because every day there's a different situation.
Yeah. So there are other Shanikas out there who can come back. They can come back.
Yeah.
It's a lesson in prayer. It's a lesson in running to Jesus. Your daughter. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? A 5-year-old girl can say something to her mom that flips her 180 degrees.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to cry.
Feel free. It's beautiful. No, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Sometimes we forget, though.
But this story, although we've never done anything close to this story, is necessary. This story is necessary because this is the world. This is the world we live in.
Yeah.
And nobody is lost.
At all.
And you go find them. You go find them, girl. You're finding them. You go to them, and you know how to relate.
Again, my gift is conversation. I don't know a stranger. I love to talk, and I want to talk about the Lord. But I realize that there's so many people in society that turn their heads to people because of how they look or how they smell or what they've heard about their past and all of that. So a lot of people that are broken and homeless, nobody's truly focusing on them because they think they're already broken. And a lot of these people are churchgoers who give more financially, but they don't actually step out into the community and see that these people need love. They need Jesus. They need to hear a testimony. They need to know that you won't forever be broken. So I decided, I'm going to be a pastor. I'm going to love on people, and I'm going to focus on the homeless. And if God decides to make that bigger, then go ahead. So I started this thing. It was already started, but I joined this thing and I became a board member. It was called SOS Ministries. And every Sunday we would go out, prepare a meal for the homeless, but also give a sermon. And sometimes it would be baptism, stuff like that, but just making a connection with people and letting them know that they are safe. And a lot of the people that gave testimony or gave a sermon were broken people who used to be addicts, but now are doctors, or used to be addicts and now are just on fire for God. Just like people that have a past, because so many people, even Christians, act like they walk in perfection. And that's not how it is. Nobody is perfect. And they need to let people know. So, yeah.
There's never been a lukewarm with you, has there? You were cold. You went cold to hot.
100%.
You did not 100%. Hang out in the middle at all.
No. Although sometimes, there is a middle, because sometimes the past does haunt me. And I know, I don't know. I just see things or I think of things or whatever, and my mind just stays on that. And then I kind of go back a little bit.
That's guilt and shame and all that stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
100%. And that's even something that I'm battling now, because like, why me, or why this or why that, and why could, but God does everything for a reason. So I hop back on that train and I just keep going.
Yeah. Well, he knows your heart. He knows where your heart is.
Yeah.
You strike me as someone who wants to be holy.
I do.
Most people run from holy. They want to be in that middle ground. They don't want to reject God, but at the same time they want it to be acceptable in that worldly way, sitting there in the middle. I don't want to be holy. Don't make me, I'm not, it's just and it's a very dangerous place to hang out in the middle. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, what comes next? What comes next in your story?
While I was going to Ozark Christian College, I was actually volunteering now at Water Gardens. There was this really hot guy, and I was like, oh, who is that? Little did I know that'd be my husband. So we've been married for 2.5 years.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's a little rocky right now, but God's got this. So everybody has to fight their demons. And
Amen. Got yourself married, found a good guy, got married.
Yeah.
And hills and valleys as there are, sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So we both work, and of course, stuff like that. Sundays, we're still going to church. And I do want to be out in these streets, loving on people and stuff like that. So like any day that I'm off or anything like that, I go out into the community and I love on people and stuff, because I know that's exactly where God is going to place me. Because I can't, there's so many times that people go for counseling and stuff like that. And that counselor has never, not one time in their life, been through anything traumatic, but yet they're giving advice to somebody else through a book. Well, I'm that book, and I'm going to open my pages for somebody else so that they can try to let God rewrite their book. Does that make any sense to you?
It does. It does. I mean, I think of you were talking earlier about when you go out there, I have a feeling that despite the obvious, you don't care if they smell. You don't care if their hair is, they haven't taken a shower forever. That's a world that you totally understand and lived in.
100%. Yes.
And there's a soul in there
that wants to be free. That's the joy of it, when you see them get free and you see their life start to change, and you're like, girl, I told you God had your back, didn't he? Huh? It's just to see that smile, and it's a blessing.
Where's that 5-year-old daughter now? How's she doing? Do you stay in touch?
So my daughter, my kids' parents had decided to allow them to see me and talk to me and stuff like that. So again, they did get adopted by my son's preschool teacher and her husband, but they're living close to my hometown, loving school, loving their parents, and just successful. My daughter, she is at that point where she kind of remembers, and she doesn't really have my personality. So she's kind of she's forgiven, but she hasn't forgot. But my son has my personality, and everything that ever happened, he loves me without a doubt. So I get to talk to them, go see them whenever I want. It's about a 4.5-hour drive, but it's worth it every time.
How old are they now?
Too old. So my daughter's about to be 11 and my son is about to be 10.
Wow. Why do you think at that moment, that touched by heaven moment, that 5-year-old daughter of yours talking about Jesus, why do you think you cared? Why do you think it clicked?
I think it clicked because it was time. My body was exhausted. I was exhausted, and I really wanted to die. I just wanted everything to be over. And it happened because God needed it to happen, because he needed to put me on his list of people that have changed for him and that are on fire for him, to give him to those around me. He needed me to be an example to the community. And he didn't want to let me go because he knew that there was a plan, because he knew me before I was in my mother's womb. And that was the time that he let me feel so broken and so let go that it was time for me to fall face flat in the sand so that he can pick me up and say, I love you. Now let's carry on.
But you had to hit that bottom place. You had to hit the bottom.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And really, it should have happened a long time ago, but I needed to go through every single one of those situations in order for me to be standing here right now. But had it not happened, how could I speak out against it and let people know that you will survive all of that in the name of Jesus?
I am sure that there are many, many women who have been prostitutes who the last thing they want people to know is that they were prostitutes. You, this is who I am, this is who I was, and this is my story. And if it helps somebody else, hallelujah.
Yep, that's exactly how it is. I have no shame of who I used to be because that person died a long time ago. And if you can judge a dead person, who are you? Like, I'm a whole new creation and nobody's perfect.
Again, Jesus' quote was, I make all things new.
And he does.
What do you need people to do?
Just to pray and to never give up on the next person that you think will never change, because you never know what God has in store for that person. But yeah, never judge a book by its cover, because God is writing that book and you are not the author of that. So don't try to be, and don't close the book, because the ending is always beautiful. So yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Shanika. What's our takeaway? What did God just say in this episode? I thought that was a good, strong finish. Don't judge a book by its cover. The author is still writing, and the author offers each and every one of us a perfect ending. A perfect ending. And never stop praying for each other. Boy, if that isn't the case, you give up. I mean, wouldn't you? This is someone you would have given up on. There's no chance for redemption, for transformation. And yet, look what happened when a 5-year-old daughter says, I'm praying for you. Jesus loves you. You never know. You just never know what the turning point is in a prayer, in a plea, you know? Thanks, Shanika. And our special Patreon shout out this week goes to Dana Beagle. Thank you so much, Dana, for all your support over the years. If you would like to help support us financially and what we do around these here parts, my wife Elizabeth and I, just go to patreon.com, search for Trapper Jack, or go to this episode 88 of touchedbyheaven.net. And I need your story. This is all fueled by you and your encounter stories. Contact me at touchedbyheaven.net. And I'll see you next week here at Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.